Marvelous morning, wonderful afternoon, and exciting evening, wherever you are in the world. We have two people from the USA, and we are still in morning here. And the person from India, of course, is in India, and it's evening there at 10 p.m. How cool can that be? And believe it or not, none of us have ever met physically. We've only met on this platform. So Zoom, you're rather cool when we come to realize it. This is MindPlore with Carla and Friends. And did I say that I am Carla yet? I am
Hello,
Carla.
Carla.
If I didn't, I'm doing it now. And I am happy to be here because today we are talking about peace. All over the world, when they talk about Christmas, they say, we want to be peaceful. Let peace be the big thing in the world. Well, in my mind, peace starts within and in your heart and then blossoms out. So we need, in my mind, I feel that everyone needs to become comfortable with themselves. And then we see peace throughout the world. And that's what we're talking about today. And Jeff, I hand you the mic so I can do what I need to do to get this show on the road.
Thank you. So, what is peace? What does peace mean to me? What does peace mean to you? As you said, peace is something which has been commercialized as much as politicized. And when I think of the holidays, we all ask for peace, and I can't help but refer to John Lennon and give peace a chance. And it's is it a piece of your mind you're looking for? I think it's a different kind of peace. It is the peace, the PEACA peace, and I believe it's internal. For me, anyway, it's finding that inner peace, finding that balance, finding the place where I have a calm, where I'm able to be at ease, where I'm not fighting myself. There are times when people are at war with each other, but there are also times when they're fighting themselves, when they're at a place of indecision, where they don't know whether to go, if they're going down a pathway and there's a fork in the road. Do they go to a right? Do they go to the left? Maybe they regret the decision they made and they can't get out of their headspace. Peace for me is a state of mind. It is also many other things. And when you can allow yourself to breathe and to be present and to be at peace, what opens up is flow. What opens up is the opportunity to see beyond yourself, allows you to feel and empathize, allows you to see things that you perhaps wouldn't see because you're blinded by the noise, you're blinded by the conflicts you create. And so peace for me is a state of mind. It is a vibration and energy, a frequency, which I hope many look to achieve. And that in order to find peace, we have to let go of our own pain. We have to let go of things which we may not be comfortable with. I have found that when I can let go of what's bothering me, that the value of peace provides a relaxation, introducing endorphins and other types of chemicals into my bloodstream, which facilitate my ability to see and to understand and to be present, and brings a calm forward, the calm which then can be shared with others and can help others find that state. For anyone who meditates, I would like to believe that if you're in a meditative state, you're in a peaceful state. Then when you're allowed to visualize and you want to manifest your truth and manifest things you believe for and want to see happen, this happens when you're at peace. When you're not in a restful, peaceful state, it becomes very difficult to get anything done. And so, given the choice, I would prefer to be in a peaceful place, in a peaceful state. And if that joy and delight of peace could be transmitted to the 8 billion people on this planet, and we can all share a moment together and breathe and be present, that would be one of the most beautiful things I could possibly imagine. So peace for me is a state of mind, and it's a place which I enjoy being in. With that, I'll hand it over to our next speaker,
Shiksha.
Shiksha.
Yeah,
What does
thank you.
Shiksha mean? I'm just curious.
Shiksha in Indian language means knowledge, education.
Ah.
Wow.
And Shikshak is the name for teacher.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
What does it mean in Yiddish?
Well, we're mispronouncing it in Yiddish. A mispronunciation of some of those letters would represent somebody who's not Jewish.
Someone what?
Who's not Jewish.
Oh.
But it would not be exactly that, because if you have the proper pronunciation of what was just said, there is no correlation in Yiddish. If you were to just look at the letters and mumble, you would get to a Yiddish word that would resemble not someone who's not Jewish, but it's not exactly the same letters. It's just that if you don't know the proper pronunciation, you go from the true meaning to a meaning which is far-fetched because of lack of proper pronunciation. But Carla, what you're going at is in Yiddish, there is a word that sounds similar, that's spelled similar but different, which would mean somebody who's not Jewish.
Thank you so very much. Shiksha, tell us how you view peace, please.
In most of the Indian hymns, prayers, the most common used word is peace. In Sanskrit, it is called Shanti. And there are a lot of chantings which are called Shanti Mantra. That means hymns for peace. So how do you attain this Shanti, the peace? We have less knowledge about the surroundings. We are not educated. Probably your mind will have confusion, conflicts. So if conflicts are removed, that means you have no confusion between what your logical brain asks and your emotional intelligence or emotional brain just makes a contradiction. You are not in peace. So most of the prayers which we have is to say that let me of no conflict between my buddhi, my intelligence, and my feelings. And for this, what we require is not a superficial knowledge, a deep knowledge. The purpose of the human life. So how do you attain peace? When I know that I am the creation of the Supreme and my neighbor is also the creation of Supreme, we are like brothers and sisters. So I am able to share anything and everything. So once it is in me, the peace, I will share the same peace to everyone. So it says the essence of some of the mantras, the chantings, the hymns, which says, let me sit together to learn. Let me sit together to eat. Let me share what I have to everyone. Let me have same light from the same source. We are all sharing the same light from the supreme light source, which is sun. So that is the source of energy. So let me share, because he distributes it without prejudice, without discrimination. So the main source is without discrimination. why should I discriminate people? Why should I discriminate country to country? So this is the basic concept of the traditional Indian knowledge. Maybe the most popular person from India all across the globe is Mahatma Gandhi, who fought with the Britishers. From India,
wait a moment.
Mahatma Gandhi.
Okay, go now.
So Mahatma Gandhi is called a synonym for peace. Even while fighting with the Britishers, he said, let us not fight with the Britishers. Let us have non-cooperation movement. We will not cooperate with them. Right? So in yoga, which is most famous today, reaching up to meditation, the first step is called yama, Y-A-M-A. And yama means non-violence. So I consider peace is not possible, at least if we can reach up to non-violence, not internally violent, internally not disturbed. We are in peace. This is what, as an introduction, I wanted to contribute in this discussion.
Very good. I just want to say something. Someone says I don't respond to messages in the chat. I don't respond to messages that have nothing to do with the topic. If it has to do with the topic, I will respond. But please don't tell me I don't. Having said that, when I look at peace, I look at individually, and that the individuals need to be peaceful before we can consider the world to be peaceful. If there's someone in a room where there's a lot of joy and happiness, and one person is not feeling that joy and happiness, somehow it spreads throughout the room. But if everyone's feeling that joy and feeling quiet within, then that joy spreads throughout the room very quickly. My question is, the person who is not happy, how can we help bring that joy to them? Personally, I think meditation works. But there are other ways, and I'm wondering what you would say to this, Jeff.
The person who we're talking about needs to be open to the conversation. That if they come with a closed mind, with the intention to disturb, they will. And so there are people who do not have such positive intentions, where they're looking for guidance on how to control their anger or their desire to find inner peace. And if you simply were to attempt to recognize what they're doing and embrace them, you may be empowering them to create more noise and to create more disturbance. That's why there are times at family gatherings where my mother used to say no politics before we would sit down for Thanksgiving, where we respect each other when we come together. You can speak, I can speak, but we don't attack each other. We listen to each other carefully. But there was a time when people were asked to leave because of the fierceness of their passion for their position, without regard for the other person's passion for their position. And a Thanksgiving dinner that becomes a debate club, that's nasty, is no fun. So I would say to your question, Carla, that if we're talking about somebody who's seeking how to find peace amongst themselves, then we can help. If there's someone who's present, who is disrupting, who is a natural disruptor with the intention to disrupt, I don't believe or have not seen or don't know a pathway to help them find that peace unless they reflect afterwards and realize after the fact, when they're not in the heat of the moment, there was an alternative way to approach it, but it has to come from inside of them. That it's there are lots of different natural laws, And I'll just stay on the law of readiness. If the person who's at the table or in the room intends to be a disturber and is not ready to find peace, there's not much any of us can do. If they're on the pathway to finding peace and they're looking for cues on how to adopt a meditative lifestyle, to learn to find that frequency, that vibration, that energy that will help them better understand who they are, there's a lot we can do. I have chosen not to engage with people who want to attack me. I will not knowingly empower somebody to go after me. I have learned, despite every good effort I have and good intention to provide a platform for someone to hear them, I have almost never seen a place where a person didn't use that to go on the personal attack. And as such, I've learned to stay away from empowering. And I openly receive people who want to be heard in a respectful manner where we respect and listen to each other. And so that's my approach, Carla. I appreciate that we may want to force peace, but as you know, if you've ever saw friends fighting in school and you break them apart, you could always get punched also as collateral damage, and the fighting continues. Despite the best efforts that you do not want to see them hurt each other, there seems to be no remorse in you getting hurt. And so again, I am not looking to hurt myself as well. And so I seek peace and inner calm, and happy to help others who seek the same. But there just needs to be a known desire for the recipient to be a receiver. If they're not open to receiving at that moment, there's not much I can do to help them because they're not open to hearing me. I mean, one of the best gifts I've learned in my life, one of the best gifts we can give is to believe in somebody. Another beautiful gift is being open to receive, to allow someone to share something with you where you embrace it as opposed to being closed from it. And so if someone is open to receiving and there's someone open to giving, there's a way to have a meaningful, positive exchange. And so I don't have an answer for how to help someone who's not present to help themselves. I have not seen that end in a positive way. And I have walked away from situations rather than hurt myself. I've learned we make mistakes, we all do. Failure to me is not learning from our failures. And so I have learned to better do what I do from life experiences, but I will not knowingly put myself in harm's way. So that's how I approach it.
I laughed when you talked about the teacher going in and trying to break up the fight. I have been that teacher, and I've learned not to do it because it doesn't help. I get someone who can deal with that. Because when you go in the middle of people who are not interested in hearing, you can't go anywhere except to be hurt. Shiksha, what do you have to say about this?
Yeah, as every human being is supposed to be human, and every human being, we are called a social being. So we are supposed to be social. The problem comes, as Jeff was mentioning, when people don't know what is being social and what is being human, the friction comes. So it's basically the way you behave. We are not showing the real character each one of us have. Based on situations, we know how to adjust with the situations. That is what is called a consciousness, right? So if you are not conscious about the situations and behave, probably you are not tandem with the group of people with which you are associated. So I think peace is not just internal, individual. It is also in a group of people, the situations, the environment. I cannot be in peace when everybody around me are really suffering with problems. So I must have a peaceful atmosphere. That is why sometimes the peace becomes a concept of politics, concept of geography, concept of country, rather than just a trait or a behavior or a character. So we need to talk about the rationality, the observation, the interpretation, analysis, maybe inference. I should not answer and reply or respond. I must just reflect. So when I reflect, probably the pursuer's mind is not polluted. So this is what probably makes us little more rational. We need to be critical, but to some extent understand, go with the feelings which we have. That's why we call it as gut feeling, right? We have an internal fire which stops us, don't respond. Now this is not the situation to speak. So I think it's more of logical reasoning, understanding what's going to happen. So it needs emotional intelligence and balance. Then the real reasoning comes into state of dealing, and our behavior becomes most balanced. I'm sure when we talk about the peace, the first word comes is maybe Leo Tolstoy's War and Peace, right? So nobody can speak about peace without referring to war. War is a negative word, and peace is a positive word. But we have sometimes the war ethics. I don't understand how ethics can be a positive word which can be put very close to war, and see we have a war ethics. That means for every fighter they have their ethics, but not understanding the person who is suffering really. So I believe what Carla was mentioning as happiness, joy, freedom, that needs to be empowered. Everybody should have their own cup of tea. I think then people don't fight. But then the whole war which happened in this world, if you look at it, most of them were not for the primary necessities. It was always for freedom. So I think peace is being free. This is what I wanted to give as my comments.
I agree with you. Can you define what you mean by free? Are you talking about being free from the thoughts of someone else? Being free to roam around the world? What do you mean?
It's all not internal alone, it's also external. If I keep saying, as a young child, they understand colors. But if you select some item and then give it to them and force them to wear, they are not in peace actually. But they don't know what is disturbing, but there is a disturbance. Maybe my attire is not matching with the group of people wherein I go for a party and then I don't feel at ease. That feeling ease is not somebody's restriction. It could have been my choice, my experience, my expectation. That would have kept me in not a comfortable state. So it's a non-comfortable state. So I cannot run away from that situation because, oh, I went for the party. Then I realized, oh, I am not fit with the company. That's what Jeff was also away from the group who were right. So still we keep that in mind. Oh, I should not have gone. That disturbs me, though I am not physically there. Even after leaving, you carry the impressions. Even if you are there, you are more uncomfortable. If you come out also, you are more uncomfortable thinking that, yeah, I did a wrong step of going there and reaching there. So anyway, you are internally uncomfortable, right? Yeah. So that's a disturbance. Actually, it's a disturbance.
What do you think, Jeff, to this?
I concur. I mean, I appreciate the thoughts being shared and the understanding. And sometimes, you know, when we look for peace, what is helpful is to understand intention and purpose. That if we could each somehow magically appreciate each other's intention and purpose, then we will find harmony quicker, faster. It's just that when we communicate, this information is not always readily shared. There are people who we communicate with who do not know what their purpose is here, what their intentions are. And if someone says words, you know, it's a lesson from my mom. It's not what you say, but the way you say it. So you might very innocently say words which trigger somebody where you did not have the intention at all to be mean, nasty, or for that matter, rude or cruel. That you do not understand. Perhaps you're talking to somebody from a different culture where that word that you said means something in a different language. You know, we see that with international advertising, with brands, where sometimes companies come to the marketplace with a product which in their language is a beautiful thing, but in another language it is the rudest, crudest, ugliest thing in the world. And companies make these faux pas more often than they admit, because they just back away. And you know, when we're having dialogue between people who are not in a warlike state with each other, but something is said and it's misunderstood, that's where we have the friction. So, but if you knew I came in peace, this is why we say I come in peace, particularly when we're doing exploration into space. We come in peace. We set that intention at the beginning, so it's understood. The vibration and energy is meant to be calm and soothing, not to be loud and noisy and nasty. And so if it was possible for us to more easily share our intentions and more clearly be understood by people of all types from all places, we would find more peace and harmony in the world and an easier dialogue between people who do not know each other. I do not know what could happen in school fights. Perhaps the bullying could be pulled down, or somebody said something silly and it was blown out of proportion, which often happens. You know, communication is a key to many things. Being understood is there too. And if we all know what our intention and purposes are, frankly, if you know someone's coming to be a rebel rouser, we could ignore them perhaps collectively if we want to. If you're a rebel rouser amongst everyone else in the room is also a rebel rouser, then you will be in harmony with them because you all come with the same intention and purpose, not necessarily my vibe, but your vibe. If you think about this, not so much in peace and war, but think about it in music, right? Where people who go to a certain type of musical gathering, if they're there to enjoy the music because they're fans of, let's say, classical music or opera, there's a good chance that if it's a wonderful performance, everyone in the audience is going to enjoy it. However, if the person coming is being dragged by somebody and they don't want to be there, but they have to be there because they have no choice but to be there, no surprise if they create tension to their parents or to their family or to their peers because they never wanted to be there. And the music is totally disorienting to them. And then, but the amazing part happens is if someone doesn't want to be there, but they're open to listening, and they found a new passion because of it, because they allowed themselves to be present. They allowed themselves to let go of their predispositions of where things are, and magic happens, and all of a sudden they find themselves in peace and harmony. I can share with you in a different realm, and I love astrophotography. One of my passions is to find places on this planet where there's no light pollution or very little light pollution, so I can photograph the night sky. At the same time, I really enjoy bringing people into an environment like that so they could find their own inner peace and find their inner voice and be settled and peace and harmony as one. And I've been around very skeptical people who humored me by showing up. Every one of those occasions, I'm happy to say that the person who was skeptical thanked me for asking them to join me. They enjoyed what it meant. They had just never experienced anything like that before in their life, or never remembered. And to understand that we're all made of cosmic dust, and to understand the magic of the universe, and understand that we are who we are in a world of billions of other stars, in universes and galaxies which we never see, but the light coming to us at night represents light that's literally up to 10 billion years old, or light that's moments old. And they were all there. It changes the perspective for those who are open to feeling that. And so that's how I help people find that peace, but they have to have the intention of finding it, even if they're skeptical. And in terms of conflict resolution, there are lots of wonderful techniques people of authority use to find peaceful resolution of conflict. I'm just saying personally, I do not want to engage with somebody who wants to do me harm. I would much prefer not to. If you find you have no choice, then you have no choice. But it's not necessarily any other thing. And so I just prefer to find my way in the most comfortable vibe possible.
Now, do you meditate, Jeff?
Well, I do. My meditation's different than others. I believe that when I'm in a conversation with one or more people, where the only thing that I notice is a person in front of me or their voice, that I'm in a meditative state. That particularly if time stops and all I am in is in the flow of the moment, then I'm meditating with them and they don't realize it, because we're finding a common vibration, we're finding a common frequency to connect on. And that's different than me closing my eyes and starting off with answering the question, I am, and then focusing on that. Usually when I do that, I can fall asleep. But I am meditating, but it's a different type of meditation. But when I have these calm, intense conversations with one or more people, or in a group setting, I do believe that, if you look at the benefits of meditation, and the results of how our blood pressures are changed and how our body changes, that the same characteristics happen when we have that ability to connect in a meaningful way. And so, yes, I believe I meditate each and every day. It's just not so obvious, but I believe I'm better off because of it.
What about you, Shiksha?
Yeah, I agree with Jeff. I keep saying it's not closing eyes, aspiring for peace, and you become not in peace. The more of desire you have, I have to become peaceful, I have to become peaceful, I have to become peaceful. That itself is the cause for being not in peace. So you have to be desireless. So how do you become desireless? If I am constantly into action, any action which is of my passion, I love to do something which is close to my heart, I think I am in peace. So I enjoy my lectures, I enjoy my discussions, I enjoy my driving, I enjoy my cooking. So it is meditation in action. It is not meditation in closing eyes. Open eyes, be active, get into that. I'm a meditation master from Himalayan tradition. So we believe people have to be in action, not going away from your duties and activities. That is what silence and peace. I'm very happy that Jeff also likes space, and I am from Space Department from India. So
wow.
there is a beautiful connection to the subject which we are talking today. Space in Sanskrit means kham, Kham, kham. It's a beautiful concept and beautiful word. Space means kham.
Wow.
And you prefix su, su, it becomes sukham. Sukham means happiness.
Wow.
So creating a beautiful Good space is what is happiness, and that is peace.
Wow.
And negative of su, which you prefixed su, su, you prefix with du, dhu, it becomes dukkam. Dukkam is sorrow, sadness, unhappiness. So always we are looking for sukham. What you want is sukham. So what is sukham means? A free, beautiful space. And that can be an internal space and that can be an external space. If I can fill my space with passion, activities that I love, I can fill with the people around me who have same passion. I'm sure I can cook well only when I have got somebody who enjoys the food. I can sing a song only when I have got people who can listen to me. I can give a lecture only when there are people who are ready to at least listen and then reflect. Right? So sukham and dukkham, these are two beautiful words. And the common thing is space. And the space is between us, within us. And filling it with su is always good. The filling with the su is what is meditation. That is samadhi. Samadhi is your electroencephalograph has got a straight curve. Your intelligence is not working. You are talking from your soul. It comes from a soul. It comes from your atma. Spiritual. It is not the practical world you are into. We are connected spiritually. So I don't have to learn it. I heard it somewhere, I understood it. So what I am sharing is what is my experience, not what I read somewhere and learned it for my examination to get a certificate. So it's what I know. Good enough?
Come on. If we're talking about what we know from experience, and as a teacher, I'll probably be crucified for saying this, isn't our experience more important than the words that we read and regurgitate in school? Jeff?
I think that's situational.
That's true.
I think that it's situational, and both the answer could be yes to both depending upon the situation. We all come from different backgrounds. We may share a DNA that's very similar no matter who you are on this earth. We share a very common DNA, yet who we are is different. Our souls are different. Our experiences are different. How we react and act in situations become different. Some is learned, some is innate. And you know, we are who we become, but we may always been that person. I'll just reflect and say that when I've had the honor to speak to high school students, I've spoken a few times to school to entrepreneur groups in high school. And I tell them one of the secrets they never tell you in high school is that 20 years from now, you're the same person. You may look a little different. You may have different responsibilities, but you're the same person. It's the same lecture I give to graduate students who are looking to figure out what's the best job for them when they don't realize that when you're 23 years old or 25 years old, you really don't know what's best for you yet, that you will discover that. And don't be so hard on yourself because you always have a chance, because tomorrow doesn't have memory of today, only you do. And that when you realize that at any moment in time, you can reboot yourself and make the future yours and make today a great day for you, then it doesn't matter what your age is. It matters what you're doing at that moment. And so for me, we're able to shape time and space based on how we approach moments. And if they're in a moment where knowledge of the past is meaningful to help us better understand what the actions are, by all means, let's know what that is. If your own personal experience, however, goes against the common knowledge, use it. You know, If we always relied on knowledge of the past to dictate the future, there would never be any innovation. There would never be any change. Disruption would just never happen. And we know that's not the case. I've built my life on being positively disruptive by challenging the status quo. Not so much, but yes, even in authority, but only in a polite way of looking at ways that we could approach and find a different answer with the same set of questions. And I've been successful with that. Some people have been disrupted by the work that I do, but I like to believe that overall I've contributed to everyone by doing what I do. And so I think there's a time and a place for everything that we, it's situational, but let's face it, kids, new generations may see new ways to solve old problems much better than people who are older who are set in their ways. And that it's not a bad thing. That's a great thing. That's a wonderful thing. And if you look at music, right? Music is a reflection of the generations, but music also does not know age. And there was a story I read about a person who was 95 years old who won their first Grammy, which is truly remarkable and amazing because they never looked at their music as their art as in a professional manner ever, and they were recognized. And so I believe that when we seek peace, if that's our intention, I like to believe we will find peace, whether it's with ourselves, with our family, with others. And different cultures, have different processes to help others find that peace, or at least to apologize for misunderstanding. And and besides interpersonal peace, there is that individual peace and just being at peace with yourself. And sometimes we are the biggest, hardest judges of ourselves. When we need to be our own best friend, we sometimes are our own critics. And there are times when we have to allow ourselves to hug ourselves, to love ourselves, to embrace in work where we engage in self-love, where we understand that there's some things that we can handle and there's some things that are not in our control. When we learn to stop worrying, because worrying is a true waste of time, when we allow ourselves to accept ourselves for who we are and that we're doing the best at any moment of being ourselves, that is how I find peace, because I'm not worrying about what I'm not doing. I'm focusing on what I can do. And I learned a while ago to drop the word try from my vocabulary, something I learned by watching Star Wars at an early age, because I've learned it's do or do not. Right? Try does not exist. That when we try, we're creating an excuse why we didn't do something, rather than saying, I was not able to do it. Because not being able to do it is an affirmation that we could learn from. But not trying, that's just not a good thing. So I do my best to find peace with myself, and I would hope that others can find their peace. And in turn, we bring this world to a higher level of consciousness, to a higher level of being, because we can do more things together than when we're alone.
Shiksha, I saw you nodding your head. You want to add something?
Yeah, I keep talking in my interaction with the students. I ask them to write TRY, and I ask them with a red ink pen, cut this. Don't use the word try. If you wanted to take a pen from the table, either you can take it or don't take it. There is nothing called trying to take it. Right. So when Jeff was telling, this is one exercise which I give to my workshop when I talk to students. When I ask, come here, if somebody says, I will try to come, that means you are physically handicapped or something, you want somebody's help, you are not able to do by yourself. So I think we can do. And when we do it, that is what is passion. If I am not interested, let me not do it. Let me not attempt that. That is the best thing what we can do. So I agree, and that is what we are supposed to do. Either do it or don't do it, right? So I believe there are 3 E's which governs us. We don't know what we are doing. Yesterday, what we did to give us some experience. But what today I'm doing is only an experiment. I had some knowledge about the peace, but what I'm doing now while discussing, I'm experimenting with what knowledge which I had and connecting with what discussion we are having. With an expectation, the end of the session, oh, I made some point. That's my expectation. So life is always with the 3 E's: experience, experiment of now, and expectation of the next nearest future. Right. So if that expectations are little bit met, and I can tap myself saying it behind me saying that, yeah, I did well, I think I am in peace. Right. So this happens. This happens when we are in a very, very good group of people. And that is why we call these sort of discussions in Indian language is called satsang. Sat means good. Sang means joining together, the union. Join together with good people. So harmony remains. There is no coherence, no problems of ifs and buts and try is not there, right? Here we are doing it, we are enjoying it. I am here because I enjoy being with Carla, being with Jeff, right? I am sure all of us want these sort of an open mind to accept things, listen to things, connect to, so that we learn. By the end of the day, we learn. And this time, what we spend together, 1 hour, I am meditating, and I believe people who are hearing is also in tandem with us, so that they are also in meditation. So learning is meditation for me. So I keep saying LIFE. Life means live in full enjoyment. Life means learning is an investment for future earning. Life means learning in full enjoyment. So it's all the bliss. It's not short-term enjoyment. And later I feel, oh, I should not have done it. No, I should not have such a situation. I must continuously be in happy, and that's called bliss. I'm sure all of us are spiritual by birth. We have polluted ourselves from the God creation to not to be so kind and compassionate, calm. If you can sustain with that happiness and bliss, I'm sure life is so smooth and good. So I authored a book called Life Made Simple. And I say it is not to be made simple. Originally, it is simple. Originally, it is simple. We are making it more complicated, more sophisticated, more diplomatic. And if we can avoid that, be simple, I think we are in peace.
Like that. I don't know. I'm sure both of you have not seen my English show, but every day I say, take out the word try and change it to do, because you can't try to do anything. A baby cannot try to stand up. He'll do as much as he can and he may fall. Until finally one day he has the strength to stand up on his own. And that goes with everything we learn. Can we just go around very quickly and just tell each other what we took away from this conversation that maybe we didn't think about before? Shiksha.
Yeah, I guess we have given a beautiful thought process where people can think and people can create their own ideas. It is not to give ideas to people, it is to make them creative thinkers of what is real peace. If that is attained, I'm sure we have done our job. That's what I wanted to add as a last sentence.
Thank you. Yeah.
I would just add that no matter where we are in the world, there are certain ties that bring us all together. The thoughts of peace, inner peace, the ability to breathe and be present, the ability and interest to communicate with each other are things which are true no matter where you are, whether you're on this planet or in space. And I believe today's show helped reinforce the idea that people from different backgrounds, from different geographies, can engage in a meaningful, thoughtful process to discuss any topic, including peace, and bring more peace amongst us. And anyone who tunes into today's show will find the frequency, the vibration, and the energy that we shared, may tune into it themselves and realize that after the hour, you can't help but smile.
Thank you, Jeff. And I always go back to my whole thing about trying. You cannot try to do anything. You can only do. Just give it your 100%. And with that, I am unsure if we'll be back next week. We will be back very soon. And I want to wish everyone a good night or a good morning, whatever you have. And let's wave goodbye. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.